Welcome back to another episode, my loves. And this is such a fun one because it's come from a conversation with one of you guys, which is my favorite kind of episodes to record. This is a beautiful old friend and one of my first clients, actually. And she said, "Oh, I listened to your podcast episode, the first one." And she said, it helped me so much because I just am in a stage of my life right now where it's so difficult to know if I want to be in a cocoon or not. And then she said what she meant by that is that she's always desired to travel. She's always had all of these like ideas of traveling and wishing for opportunities to travel and maybe like thinking of different job opportunities that would mean that she could travel. And this was always something in the back of her mind, which she did actually. She lived in another country recently for work and she has traveled. And at the moment she said, you know, I'm settled in a place now and I've got a partner and I've got a job and I've got all these other things going on. I have a beautiful community, but I'm looking for a different kind of job. And then one of my other friends asked me, would you travel for work? And she said, I just thought like I've always wished to travel for work, but at the moment I don't know if I want to just get up and leave here after I've spent all of this time and effort making this cocoon here. And she said, your episode reassured me so much that actually maybe it is okay to not necessarily travel right now and to stay in one place. And I thought that's such a beautiful thing, first of all, that she can notice that about herself and observe these things in herself. But I also have a few things to say about this because I think this is such a beautiful thing to look at. The first thing is that, of course, traveling is extraordinary. It completely changed my entire life. And I think it's very, very important. I think it's something incredibly valuable. I think we should all do it. I think everybody should travel solo for a period of time in their life if they can. I think if you're ever just in like a crisis moment where you don't know what to do and nothing's working and you just need a full identity reset, to go solo traveling by yourself is one of the most life-changing things that you can do, I think, because it just gives you so many different opportunities to reinvent yourself, to discover new things about yourself, to go far outside of your comfort zone, to see the world as a very big, very beautiful, very magical place, I think, to really expand your horizons. There is nothing like traveling for just making life feel bigger, you know, feeling like things are more limitless, feeling like there are more opportunities, there are more places, like, and it is this kind of feeling of like, why would you just stay in one place when you could stay any place, which has always been my philosophy, which is why it's so fun to explore the other side of the coin. So while I do think travel has so much merit, and I've been singing the merits of travel for a long time now, like many years. I've been backpacking now for more than 15 years or something like this, like traveling a lot, living abroad a lot. And always just wanting to have that freedom, you know, of like, if I change my mind and I don't want to stay here, I can just go somewhere else. And if I do that there and I don't want to live here, then I can just go somewhere else. And I just think as well, like there is so much magic in this. There's so much magic in this way of life because there's so much freshness. There's so much newness. There's so much novelty. There's so much meeting new people, doing new experiences, discovering different parts of yourself, discovering different places, different climates, learning new languages, trying new foods. Like it's a lot of novelty, which is extremely beautiful. It's an extremely expansive thing for us, I think. And especially if we've stayed in one place for a long time, and especially if we've been living by like the program, if you know what I mean, like we're kind of conditioned by society, maybe conditioned by our parents, conditioned by our friends and work colleagues and things like that. There's like the set things that you do, you know, you go to school, you go to high school, then you go to uni, then you get the job, then you like climb the corporate ladder, and then you want to get this salary and you want to buy this house and you need to have this mortgage and you want this like perfect white picket fence in this perfect suburb, and then you meet the perfect partner and then you have children and you settle down, blah, blah, blah. All of that jazz, you know what I mean? And so if we've been really like just kind of in that, and then one day woken up and just thought, hold on a second, like this is, I didn't even actually plan or want or desire any of these things. I just kind of got carried along by this flow of this current of like just what normal people do, you know, this is just what people do. But a lot of us wake up at some moment in this process and just think, hang on a second, do I really want this? And then there comes a point where it's a really hard question to ask yourself normally, because first of all, it normally means leaving things behind to go and try something new. It normally means like leaving a job, leaving a hometown, leaving a relationship, leaving a group of friends for a period of time, or maybe for a long, long time, you know what I mean? And so in these kind of situations, I think that that is exactly the thing that we need. We need a lot of novelty. We need a lot of opportunities to experience new things and learn new things about ourselves, and to just try on different aspects of our personality, try on different aspects of our being. Because one of the most beautiful things about traveling is that nobody knows you. So you can go into a hostel, you can go into a cafe, you can go to like an ecstatic dance, or you can go to a breathwork journey, or you can go to like a yoga class or something like this, and then nobody knows who you are. So nobody's expecting you to act to these preconceived notions of who you are, which we have very strongly in our home environment, I think. Like everybody knows us. Everybody knows our backstory. Everybody knows how we grew up. Everybody knows how we normally are. Everybody knows what we normally do. Everybody knows our normal moods and our attitudes and that kind of thing. And people are expecting that from us, which is reasonable. And when we don't necessarily act by those like parameters, people get perturbed. Also, we do the same thing to other people, right? And so naturally it makes it very, very, very difficult in a home environment to drastically change parts of yourself, to drastically change parts of your personality, your habits, your ways of thinking, your ways of reacting to things, even your hobbies and your passions kind of thing, because people are expecting you to be a certain way. You already normally are that certain way. And so it's just an extreme amount of magnetism and gravity there keeping us a certain way. Which is why it's so much easier, I think, to explore all of these things properly when you travel and you're not in a normal place. Because nobody's expecting you to be a certain way, because nobody knows who you are. You don't necessarily have to act or even subconsciously act to those parameters, because nobody knows what they are. So you can try on lots of different things for size. And you can also just have so many different opportunities to have different stimulus in your life, different environments, different people, different food, different language, different challenges, different opportunities, different magic that you don't normally have in your normal life at home. So you get to, like, you're literally growing a lot of new neural pathways when that's happening. So a lot of things are changing for you. So there are times in our life where this is an incredibly, incredibly valuable, important, beautiful thing. And if you have the opportunity to do it, I cannot recommend more highly to do whatever it takes to be able to have those experiences and do those things. They're extremely, extremely important. The other side of the coin, which is what my friend is discovering now, is that sometimes there is also incredible beauty and magic in staying in something, staying in a place, in order to create depth. And depth is normally the thing that is missing in this lifestyle. And of course, this is the thing of like the grass is always greener on the other side of the fence. And, both of them have big pros and cons. Both of them have beautiful growing opportunities and also challenges. And the thing of traveling lifestyle and the moving around lifestyle and all this novelty is that it's often difficult to create any kind of depth with people or places or situations, because depth requires time normally. Depth requires like regular input over time. Depth in anything, depth in any of your practices, depth in learning a new skill, depth in meditating, depth in Kalari, in yoga, in running, in friendships, in relationships, in your workplace. Any kind of depth requires constantly returning back to that thing and investing more energy and effort and attention into it over time, because time also creates safety and familiarity and vulnerability, and then with more of those you get more depth. Often when you're traveling around, you're moving different places, you meet people, you get to spend maybe a few days with them, maybe a week, maybe a month, and then they leave or you leave, and it's just this constant flow of people coming and going in your life, places coming and going in your life, and all of these different novelty situations also result in a lot of saying goodbye to people and a lot of missing people and a lot of creating intense connections and then having to say goodbye to them, and not necessarily like having intense connections, but not necessarily having very extremely deep connections or long-lasting connections over time. the thing about staying in one place is that you get to really intentionally create depth. And there are things that you can get from depth that you can't get from novelty. And again, this is the analogy that I gave in another podcast episode of like, if I had a whole year and I did a completely different sport every day of those 365 days, I would have an extraordinary amount of different novelty experiences. You know, I would learn a lot of things about a lot of different sports. I've met a lot of different people. I would challenge my body in a lot of different ways. My body wouldn't be able to adapt at all. It would just be doing something different every day. But the practice of committing to Kalari, or whatever your thing is that you do, is that it's consistently returning to this thing day after day after day after day for a whole year, which creates an enormous amount of depth, an enormous amount of familiarity, an enormous amount of adaptability, an enormous amount of vulnerability with that thing, because you know that it's not going to change. You know it's going to be the same. And from that depth, you get to experience different parts of your being that are different from the novelty and the exploration parts. You get to discover the parts that are much more intrinsic to who you actually are, I think. And you get to recognize more of yourself. The traveling one is more of like a creating yourself, I think, like trying on, being creative, experimenting, you know, doing trial and error and that kind of thing. When you're creating depth somewhere, you're creating gravity within yourself, because you get to know what it is that you are, and you get to build on that more and more and more and more and more. And I think that there is a natural ebb and flow between these two states. There are states where and periods of our life where we do stay and it makes sense to stay, and we want to create depth, and we need stability so that we can do that. We need familiarity so that we can do that. And then that kind of like comes to a head, and then we turn back in the other direction, where it's like, actually then time for new things, time for novelty, a breath of fresh air, like new people, new places, to like start different types of inspiration and different creativity, to then like go that side. And then at some moment it turns back and forth like this endless infinity loop. And what my friend was experiencing is this extremely beautiful moment of the other side of the coin, where it's all of the beautiful parts of stability, novelty on the one side and stability on the other. And that's really what I'm exploring myself with this whole thing of my own cocoon, of Kalari, of Oroville, my own metamorphosis, and also what I'm strongly encouraging you to do as well, which is this thing of staying with yourself primarily, and getting to know yourself, getting to know really, really who you are, and what you stand for, and what your gifts are, and what magic you have to share with the world, what your energy levels are, how you feel normally, what you understand about yourself, so that you can amplify all of these things and give something very, very beautiful back to the world. And she was saying, like, you know, I want to travel, but I also I don't want to leave all of these things now. And it's incredible, actually, and I'm so proud of her. It literally brings me to tears sometimes when I speak to like old clients of mine. I just see how radically they've transformed their lives. Like this client, when we started working together, she was very sedentary in her own words. She wasn't doing any exercise. She was not eating particularly well. She did not consider herself to be like an exercise person at all. She kind of almost resented maybe like people in that world, because she didn't feel a part of it. She felt excluded by it. And now she's like a full-on just pocket rocket. She beat my best half marathon time recently, which is, she came to watch my first half marathon that I ever did in Spain. And she was like, no, I would never do something like this. This is the most ridiculous thing ever. And she beat that time, which was my best half marathon time. She now like goes out cycling all the time. She has this beautiful, beautiful community of like trail runners. I also remember her saying like, I will never trail run. That's just the most ridiculous thing. Like, why would anybody ever do that? And now she's out trail running, you know, like, and making the most beautiful food in this beautiful community of all of these other people that are really, really like delighted to be moving their bodies and just like in this community. She has a partner in the same world. She has all of these beautiful friends that she like goes running with, that she goes cycling with, that she goes and makes beautiful food with. She has her own apartment that she like has furnished, and she bought some of my paintings and put them in her house, which is also so beautiful. So she was like, I I want to travel, but I also I have such a beautiful routine here. I feel so connected to my body. I feel so strong. I have a beautiful community. I have a beautiful relationship. And is it wrong to stay when I've always said that I wanted to travel? And I just, first of all, I'm so proud of her. Honestly, it's just the most beautiful thing to see. And I just said, no, you should stay. This is something that you have put a lot of time and energy into. First of all, your connection to yourself and your own strength, your own ability to do these things, your own tenacity, your own dedication, your devotion, your discipline, all of these things that you've built within yourself that you thought you would never have. And then all of these connections with other people, which are so uplifting. Everybody is inspiring each other. Everybody's encouraging each other to come out running, and everything is centered around group activities where everybody's supporting each other and going for coffee and then going for a run, or going and meeting for a bike ride and then having lunch afterwards, and all of these beautiful things. And I just thought, no, don't throw that away for the novelty. And at some moment, these things may run its course, you know what I mean? An opportunity might come up that's too good to say no to, or maybe you decide to move somewhere else for another reason, or you never know what's going to happen. But I think when we're in these very, very, very beautiful places that we've built, it doesn't make sense to just uproot everything for the sake of it when you are in this phase of beautiful depth. It's almost like building just an extraordinary garden, which now I'm having a hard time with my garden here, to be honest, because half of the plants in it want to be watered a lot and the other half don't want to be watered at all. So they all seem to be slightly dying. And it's costing me a lot of energy and attention to try and keep my garden alive. And it would almost be me just finally making the most beautiful, luscious garden and then just being actually, I'm leaving now, bye. And then not ever getting to enjoy my garden, not ever getting to see all of the plants flourishing together. So there is so much to be said, of course, for novelty, and there's also so much to be said for staying in this cocoon that we've built and putting a lot of energy and effort into making a very, very, very extraordinary, beautiful, safe, comfortable place where you are building something very specific inside of yourself, where you are nourished by this cocoon, this community, these people, these practices that you have, and growing yourself in a very, 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 very specific way. And often this can only happen in a cocoon. I was speaking of my own experience. It is very difficult actually to build a significant amount of commitment to something when you're traveling a lot, when you're moving a lot, especially if you're moving every week or 2 weeks or something like this. It's extremely difficult to commit to doing the same thing consistently. I did it in Indonesia a few years ago when I went traveling a lot, and it was really hard. It really tested my limits enormously of my discipline of sticking to something, moving around that much. It wasn't easy, and it was often difficult because you're spending energy doing other things like meeting other people and doing activities and trying to find the right kind of food. Every time you move, you have to try and find where you can get the right kind of nourishing food, and then that's a whole thing, and you have to make sure that the place has enough space to do your practices in. And it's a different kettle of fish altogether. So there is so much beauty and so much merit in both of these things. If you're in a novelty phase, really go hard on the novelty, I think, and explore discipline within novelty. Explore how much you can keep practices and keep consistency with things, even when you're moving around, even when things are changing a lot, even when you have to expend a lot of energy doing new things. And when you're in this phase of the cocoon or community or stability, go hard into that, make it even more devotional, make it even more dedicated, put even more effort and energy into these friendships and inspiring other people and being in this group and uplifting everybody together and all being together, because that's its own different type of growth. One is almost growing upwards and outwards, and one is growing roots very, very, very far down. And in the middle between those two things, you want the core of that to be you. You want your own connection to yourself and your own practices. You want your own devotion, your own understanding, your own commitment to yourself and growing yourself and understanding yourself better so that you can give more to this world, so that you can be the ultimate version of you, the best version of you that you possibly came here on this earth as a beautiful soul with gift to share version of that. Do you know what I mean? And that's the whole point of all of it. That's the whole point of all of the thing of growth in either direction. The other thing I said to her, which is also a beautiful thing that I discovered very recently in my life, I would say I discovered this about 1 year ago, so it's new for me, was this thing of just realizing, like, we're actually fine. We're not running out of time. And this is an insane mindset that is so common in big cities and just this like big city lifestyle where everybody's in a rush all of the time and everybody's doing 1 million billion things all of the time. And it's just this thing of like, we're running out of time, like quick, we've got to do this thing, we're running out of time, quick, you got to like find someone and settle down, you got to have babies, you're running out of time, you got to get on the corporate ladder, and you've got to make this income, and you've got to like get that mortgage and buy that house and quickly like do this thing, do that thing. And a lot of my conversations with my clients, I've noticed in these last months, have just been like, hold on a second, like, what's the rush? There's no rush. Like, you don't have to sell your house tomorrow. Like, yeah, you want to sell your house. You don't want to sell it tomorrow for less than it's worth because you're in a mad rush to do this thing. Like, you've got time. We've got time. We're not running out of time. And I just realized this, like, there was a few things, if like these breadcrumbs in my life where it came up a few times. And it was when I was living in Hiri, and I was just speaking to a few different friends, and it came up in a few different conversations where I was just trying to plan out my next year, or not even plan out, because I don't normally in my life do this planning out thing. But I was like, what can I do? Like, I really want to do this. I really want to do that. I really want to like go and do like this training here. But then I also want to go to like Brazil. There's things I want to do in Brazil. But I also want to go back to Central America. But I also kind of want to go and teach yoga in Thailand. And I also want to do more Kalari in India. And I also want to do that thing. And I want to go scuba diving in Indonesia. And like all of these different things. I'm just like getting myself like super overwhelmed of like, oh, what am I going to do? How am I going to fit all these things in? And I remember one of my friends just saying, like, why do you have to do all these things in 1 year? Like, what's the rush? Why would you try and cram all of those things into 1 year? You know, like none of those places are going anywhere. And I remember just thinking like, true. And then another different friend just in a like similar conversation was just like talking about his own travel plans, and he was like, yeah, but like, you know, maybe I'll go, like, I really want to go to like Argentina and do tango, but like, yeah, maybe in a few years from now, like these few years I want to like spend doing this, and then maybe from a few years from now I'll do that. And I just thought like, is that an option? I didn't realize that. So it's just this thing of like, don't try and like cram the stability era into the novelty era, and vice versa. Like, you've got time for both of them. You're going to be in one, and then you're going to come out of that, hopefully naturally, and into another one. And you might want to do all of those things and like go scuba diving here and there and do that thing here and there, go there, you know, but like, there's no rush. You can do some of those things this year, you can do some of them next year, you can do some of them in 10 years time, you know, like places aren't going anywhere. You will be older, you'll be a different person. That is also a beautiful thing, you know, like I think back to the type of travel I did in my early 20s, and I wouldn't want to do those trips again now. But they definitely were a lot of fun, and they really changed me as a person, I think. And so I could do a trip to Brazil now, which I can't do a trip to Brazil now because I'm in India for the next 2 years, which is a very big commitment for me. Maybe I'll go to Brazil after those 2 years, you know, maybe I'll go to Brazil in 5 years' time, and I'm going to be a different person, and I'll be 41 by then. So and that will be a different version of Ray. Like, she'll want to do different things, I'm sure. She'll maybe have different interests, different passions. I have no idea who she's going to meet along the way or what interesting things she's going to do between now and then that will change her as a person. And so I just said that to my friend as well. I just said, like, you know, there's no rush to like get into your travel era when you're enjoying so much your community. And actually, when you rush these things, you sabotage both of them. You leave behind the beautiful community, the thing that you've been growing, and a part of you secretly really grieves for that and is sad about it and misses it. All the while you're trying to enjoy the new phase of novelty and the new era of experimentation, but you miss the old thing and you feel guilty in some ways, and you're not quite fully immersed in this other thing because you weren't ready for it yet, because it didn't happen naturally. And vice versa, like if you try and force a stability phase when you're really in a novelty moment, It's extremely uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good at all. So that is just an exploration of this whole thing of the cocoon, of your metamorphosis. And you want places to go when you're a butterfly, you know what I mean? You want to explore, you want to go, you have wings, you want to go and see a lot of different things and do a lot of different things. And you will have so many new opportunities, you can't even fathom what they are. But the caterpillar can't do that. The caterpillar needs to go inside of the cocoon and have that phase of being inside of the cocoon before it can become a butterfly that then wants to go and do all of these other things. Before then the cycle repeats again and again and again and again. And what's the rush, you know? You're going to be a caterpillar and you're going to be a butterfly, and you're going to be both at the same time in different ways of your life. So really the thing is, just don't get entangled in this thing of running out of time. It's such a ridiculous thing, and it makes us make very reckless choices that are most often not helpful for us, because no decision that we make out of being in a rush is going to be a good decision. Nothing good happens when we're in a rush. Nothing good happens. We really need, what we need to want to do, it's important to do, is make choices from a place of feeling very lit up and inspired by things, because we have opportunities, because we feel extremely driven and passionate and inspired towards that thing, because we want that thing more than anything else, because we want to experience this version of ourselves more than anything else in the world. And when it's not that, it's time to build, you know? It's not time to force answers and force novelty and force like crazy big decisions. It's time to work on yourself. It's time to go inwards, connect to yourself, build habits, build devotion, build consistency, build your knowledge of yourself, build your understanding of yourself, build all of those things related to the cocoon that are then going to be the foundation for all of these beautiful adventures and explorations and magic that comes again from that place. So don't let yourself be rushed by the people around you, because everyone around you is in a rush. All of the people around us are in a rush all of the time. And it's very difficult to be the person that's not in a rush when everybody's trying to pull you along with them, because they don't want to slow down. Because when you slow down, you have to ask yourself these hard questions, you know, like, what are you doing with your life? Do you actually want to do that? Are you actually enjoying yourself? Are you having fun? Are you lit up? Are you learning? Are you growing? When you're not in a rush, you suddenly have space and time to think about these things, which is actually honestly terrifying for most people. Most people will do anything at all costs to avoid ever having to confront these questions, ever having enough space and time to actually sit with themselves and think about these things. So don't let yourself be pulled along by this thing of being in a rush. Give yourself space. Give yourself space in both phases, space in the novelty phase, in the exploration phase. Give yourself space in the cocoon phase to just sit with yourself, to spend time growing a community, to spend time going deep into your passions, deep into like devoting yourself to things, because there's magic in there that you will never find in the novelty phase. So this is a message to her. She knows who she is. She listens to this podcast. I'm sending you so much love, and a message to all of you to just, whatever the phase that you're in now, see if you can identify what phase it is, because when you can really learn to appreciate and go even deeper into the beauty of it. Not be impatient for the next stage, you know, don't rush. You're not in a rush. You're not running out of time. You're not going to miss out. You can do things later. This is not to say to waste your time idly, by the way, and not to say just like kick back and like waste, you know, just like stagnating. We never want stagnation. Be fully in the cocoon if you're in the cocoon. Build in the cocoon, so that you've got the perfect foundation to launch off when you're in the next era, and so that you've got the perfect foundation to come back to and create even more depth with when you come back. That is my invitation to you. I hope that you're enjoying the phase that you're in, no matter which one it is. If you need help with your cocoon, which is everything related to your own self, it encompasses everything: the way that you move, the things that you eat, your community, your identity, most importantly, and changing these things, growing them into the next evolution of you. I have my cocoon mentorship, which is a 6-month mentorship with me. It's genuinely completely life-changing. So if you need this kind of support in your life, because a lot of us honestly don't have it in the people around us, you know where to reach me. Just send me a message and we can chat. And I'm sending you all so much love.